Hey guys, it's Dante Ferrigno at Ferrigno Freedom Channel coming back at you with some new information on the Dreo Chef Maker for the month of July. But also, I wanted to do a quick contest between the Dreo Chef Maker and another famous brand of air fryer and a temperature probe to show some comparisons, because I've had a few people talk about how they can get the same result with a mixture of items and maybe spend as much or less than they do buying a Dreo Chef Maker. Well, I wanted to put that to the test and see how it went. So I took a Power XL, a clamshell style model that I've used in previous videos and talked about because it was what I used to use before I used a Dreo Chef Maker. And I also took a Meter Plus probe and used it to cook a ribeye steak. At the same time, I decided to cook a same size ribeye steak in the Dreo Chef Maker. And let's see how that comparison came out. First, I want to talk about what I noticed when I was looking at the different designs of the Chef Maker to maybe the air fryer that we're talking about here. As much as I like the Power XL for its overall floor space on the inside, there is a big problem with it for most people if they don't have a countertop that's not covered by a cabinet. And most people's countertops do have a cabinet above them. My kitchen has an island, so I typically keep something like this on the island. But when I put them side by side on my shelf, I noticed that there was a real problem trying to get the lid on the Power XL to open, whereas with the Dreo Chef Maker, I was able to pull the drawer back and forth easy as possible. So I decided to move the Power XL unit over to my island, and I put the main Dreo Chef Maker that I use on the countertop next to my other Dreo Chef Maker. Yes, I have two, because I find that it's very useful, not only for myself to be able to cook multiple things at once, but sometimes my wife is working on a meat product and a vegetable product because she is not a strict carnivore, but she is trying to get the kids off of all the ultra-processed foods, so she's taking some steps to do that, and I found it very useful to have two Dreo Chef Makers for this purpose. So I moved it over here, and then I added some water to my Chef Maker to make sure it was ready to go, which is one of the cool things about the Chef Maker that you're not going to get from other air fryers, and that's the ability to add moisture to the meat while it's being cooked. You know, most cooking processes use up the moisture that's in the meat. When you're cooking meat on a grill, all the juices from your steak that run out wind up in the fire and actually sometimes cause the fire to flare up and do some more damage to your meat than you would like, maybe overcook it in certain spots. Air fryers themselves are better at retaining moisture because everything stays in one place. Even while the fan is circulating, the juices wind up down underneath the meat. So if you get some moisture in the air, it's moisture from that meat. It winds up going back into the meat. But the Dreo Chef Maker goes one extra step and actually showers the meat with a mist that keeps it moist throughout the cooking process, especially when you're using the sous vide mode. I coated both sides of both pieces of meat with my favorite Redmond smoke salt, so it adds that smoky flavor that you don't get with just using regular salt. But using regular salt's going to work just fine. I enjoy the flavor either way. And then I took one steak and put it in the Power XL, and I took one steak and put it inside of the Chef Maker. I got them both set up to cook the steak to a level of medium. Not that that's necessarily my recommended level. It's just the level that I chose for this video for your own comparison. The Chef Maker then reminds me to use the proper basket and to make sure that the temperature probe is connected. And then I had a choice between sous vide or classic cook. And since I was comparing apples to apples here, I decided to go with classic cook, since it was going to be similar to the way the Power XL air fryer was going to cook it. I set the Power XL to a temperature of 400 degrees, which is probably higher than the Chef Maker achieves during this process. But when you're using chef mode, it actually doesn't tell you what the temperature is. It's raising and lowering the temperature using AI to determine the best way to cook this steak evenly and properly without overcooking the exterior and undercooking the interior. I had already set up the Meter Plus to begin calculating the cook time. So here I am showing a side-by-side comparison as they run down, and I'm going to speed this up so you can see the process as it goes through. I do skip back and forth between the apps that the Chef Maker has and the app that the Meter Plus has, just so we can see how it's doing comparison side by side. The one thing that you will note about the Chef Maker, though, is I rarely need to use the app at all. The app on the Meter Plus, however, is really required that you're not only paying attention to it, but that you've got your sound turned on your phone so you can get notifications when you've got to do certain things. For instance, when you've got to remove it from heat. That's something you don't have to worry about with the Chef Maker, because the Chef Maker is going to have a rest period toward the end, and when it's done cooking, it's going to shut off on its own. Whereas the air fryer, it's going to depend on what I set the timer for. And if it hasn't reached the temperature that I wanted within the allotted time on the timer, then it's going to undercook it. So you have to be a little bit more active when you're using something like the MEATER Plus on a regular air fryer. You'll notice that the time on these also seemed to adjust faster. Eventually, they were almost caught up with each other, and really they wound up finishing within about 2 minutes of each other, because it's just the estimates that the Chef Maker is doing and the estimates that the MEATER Plus are doing are not 100% accurate, because it's going based on how hot it is inside the unit as opposed to how hot it is inside the meat. And as that temperature is reached, it adjusts the time accordingly. So it's always an estimate on these times. And you can see the Power XL model finished first. So I went ahead and opened it up, and we can take a look at the result of that meat here. And you can see that the app on the MEATER Plus is showing the resting stage as I hit the button to let it know that I was taking it off of heat. And while I was getting a plate, the alarm went off on the Chef Maker to let me know that it was ready too. So they both finished. I got my wooden tongs out, because I always recommend using wooden tongs whenever you're using an air fryer or anything else that has a nonstick coating. The biggest concern you have with nonstick coatings is if the nonstick coating starts to chip or flake off. Using metal utensils will definitely speed that process up. But I'll have more to talk about on the nonstick coating near the end of this video. Be sure to check that out. So here you can see both steaks side by side. The one that was cooked with the Power XL and the MEATER Plus is on the right. The one that was cooked with the Dreo Chef Maker is on the left, as you can tell while I take out the temperature probe. Speaking of the temperature probes, I want you to also note on the right is the MEATER Plus, on the left is the Dreo Chef Maker probe. And the size of the probe does make a bit of a difference in my opinion. Some of the better chefs I've spoken to said that they don't use temperature probes at all because they don't want anything piercing the meat and allowing the juice to come out while it's in the cooking process. Well, since these stay in the meat the whole time, I think it tends to minimize some of that as opposed to having something that you're doing like an instant probe for. But the other thing I like about the Chef Maker is that it is a smaller probe, so it takes up less space inside the meat to cause less of an issue with that. I'm going to cut both steaks down the center here, and you can see that we've got an excellent medium cook on both pieces of meat. And then I went for the real test, which is to taste the steak. Let's try out a slice from the Power XL with the MEATER Plus. Tasty. Medium done. Okay. Now let's compare it. Tastes like I'm eating a piece of meat from the stained piece of steak. No real difference in flavor. Not a huge difference in texture or toughness of the two steaks. I will say that it was slightly juicier, but the toughness was about the same as far as chewing, but the juiciness is definitely higher on this one. Then I decided to cut both of the steaks up into pieces that were good for consumption, and I noticed something else different about the meat that came out of the Chef Maker. If you look at the plate, you can see which one retained more juices inside the meat simply by looking at the plate. I didn't do anything different with these pieces of meat other than cut them into pieces side by side, and you can see that there is a lot more juice on the plate for the meat that came from the Chef Maker. Now, both of these models of air fryer are designed to be dishwasher safe as far as the pan is concerned, the part that the meat that holds all the heat inside, and then also the tray that goes inside that the meat sits on top of. And I also noticed some of the description on the Power XL model was a warning not to scrub. Now, I know about that warning not to scrub because I have actually had a Power XL model for over a year before I had the Dreo Chef Makers. And this is a short video from when I got that very first model, something that I noticed that happened. And this only happened within a couple of months. Maybe because I was scrubbing too hard, but I will say that there was no other way to get the food particles off of the tray without giving a little bit of a scrub to it. And this was the result.
All right, it's going to be a little awkward since I only have one hand. I'm going to go ahead and put these pieces around the edges here. Into these air fryers, some of the stuff that I'm not liking that I see, even on this new air fryer that I have, is look how much the black paint has come off of this. This is the bottom of the grill. Now this is the top of the grill, and you can see a lot of black paint has come off of that. Now where has that gone? I figured, well, maybe I can just replace the pan and put something else in there, but then I saw this after I washed up today. In the bottom of the pan, it's starting to do the same thing here.
Now the temperature probe for both units, the Meter Plus and the Dreo Chefmaker, should both be washed basically the same way you're seeing here, using a damp cloth. Do not submerge the temperature probe in water. That can cause malfunctions with your temperature probe. And you can keep the fingerprints off of your unit by using a damp cloth to give it a quick wipe down. Because it doesn't have any stainless steel, it makes it very easy to keep that exterior clean. Now, I've been using the Dreo Chefmaker for well over a year now. I've got two different models. One's a little bit more than half a year old. The other one is right at a year old. And I can't tell the trays apart. They look both brand spanking new. I put them through many wash cycles, but typically the stuff comes off so easily that all I need to do is use a sprayer on my sink and it comes right off without any trouble. So I haven't had to scrub anything on the Chefmaker ever, and I've never seen one chip or flake or scratch in that nonstick coating. Other people have concerns about nonstick coatings having some other things going on with them. I have done a lot of research on this, and from what I've been able to tell, all I've been able to find is people talking about it on YouTube and places like this, but I haven't seen a single study that has confirmed that the new PFOA-free material that they're using has any side effects or issues. But I do know that I've got to be able to cook my food somehow, and I have found the Chefmaker to be absolutely a dream at doing that for me, making it easy, making it fast, and making it good every single time. So I do want to let you know about the special that's going on for July. They're offering $140 off when you use a link from an affiliate like myself. But when you use my link, you actually get $150 off. Now, you won't notice that when you first get to the website. It's going to still show $140 as the special. But once you click Add to Cart and you see it in your cart, you'll then see that it is $150 off with my discount code Dante. You won't have to type the code in, and you can get that special throughout the month of July. Keep in mind also the Chefmaker is great for making any other type of meat. I just happen to cook a lot of beef myself, but it's got settings for chicken, for pork, for seafood. It's even got settings for vegetables. So you can do your entire kitchen of cooking in this one unit. So don't miss your chance to get one of the best prices available on the Chefmaker to date. You wind up paying $209 with this special price right now. The regular price is $359 on the Dreo Chefmaker. I think that makes this a very good deal. If you've already bought a Dreo Chefmaker because of past recommendations of mine, I'd love to hear your comments in the description for other people watching this video for the first time so that they can get an idea of what they can expect from their Dreo Chefmaker as well. That's all I got for this one, guys. I'll see you next time.
If we pay extra, could we maybe get some grease or fat?